Some 4 days to Christmas in 1966, in a small village known as Kamagut in what is now Uasin Gishu County, William Samoei Ruto was born to Mzee Daniel Cheruiyot and Mama Sarah Cheruiyot. Unlike most politicians dominating the Kenyan political scene who were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, William Ruto grew up just like the normal rural boy. He started his education at Kerotet Primary School, then proceeded to Kapsabet Boys for his A-levels. At one point, in a bid to raise school fees and spruce up the economic fortunes of his family, young William Ruto sold chicken on the Eldoret-Kisumu highway. In 1990, William Ruto graduated from the University of Nairobi with a Bachelor's of Science in Botany and Zoology. Ruto has Masters in Environmental Sciences from the same university and is currently pursuing a PhD. In 1991, Ruto married his wife Rachel, whom he had met during his time as a member of a Christian union at the university. A year later, Ruto joined active politics as a de facto member of the infamous YK92, a youth group formed to campaign for former President Moi's re-election when he faced a major onslaught from a united opposition after the introduction of multipartyism. Ruto was the organizing secretary of a group where he teamed up with friend-turned-foe Cyrus Jirongo, running a network of political mobilization that saw Moi re-elected, though controversially.
Najua my brother Jirongo za singine anakasirika na mimi kwa sababu zamani nilikuwa mti yake ya mkono. Sasa anakasirika na mimi sasa, anaona huyu ambaye alikuwa mti yake ya mkono alipitia wapi hapa mpaka aka. Lakini unajua my friend, ni kujipanga na nilikwambia.
With Moi's win in 1992 giving him the much-needed confidence, William Ruto decided to make a debut in elective politics, where he sought to dislodge KANU stalwart Reuben Chesire. Even when it was clear that President Moi preferred his rival than him, and with high-voltage campaigns against him, Ruto won the KANU nominations and was elected as Eldoret North MP at the age of 31, becoming one of the youngest MPs. In the last hours of the KANU administration in 2002, Ruto was appointed by President Moi as Assistant Minister for Home Affairs. When President Uhuru Kenyatta was picked by President Moi after announcing he would retire from active politics as a KANU candidate to face the opposition in 2002 general elections, there was mass exodus from the Independence Party, the mutiny being led by Raila Odinga, who was Secretary General, and Kalonzo Musyoka. Ruto became Uhuru Kenyatta's running mate, and both would face a humiliating defeat from a united opposition that was led by President Mwai Kibaki. But he was re-elected as MP Eldoret North. The 2005 Banana Orange referendum was a defining moment for William Ruto. Disgruntled members of a NAC administration led by Raila Odinga, owing to a memorandum that was not honored by Kibaki, were plotting a political coup on President Kibaki. The referendum provided the perfect opportunity, with Raila Odinga leading the disgruntled members of NAC in teaming up with the opposition led by Uhuru Kenyatta to oppose the proposed constitution. They held mega rallies, with William Ruto slowly emerging as the undisputed king of Rift Valley that had a leadership void after the exit of President Moi. The Orange movement carried the day and humiliated the ruling administration. In anger, President Kibaki dismissed the entire Raila Odinga axis from the cabinet, providing fodder for the opposition. Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta and Musalia Mudavadi would form the ODM Kenya party after the Orange movement. Though Uhuru Kenyatta would bolt out of the movement and support the re-election of President Kibaki in 2007 under PNU, William Ruto announced his presidential bid under ODM, causing some friction in the new party. Kalonzo Musyoka would also bolt out and run away with the party, forcing Odinga and Ruto to hurriedly craft the ODM party and obtain its registration certificate. Through consensus and negotiations, Raila Odinga was picked to fly the ODM flag in the presidential poll, with Mudavadi as his running mate. Ruto was deputy party leader and member of the Pentagon, and together with Odinga, conducted high-voltage campaigns in a bid to oust Kibaki.
That it is possible for us to alter the destiny of this country by altering the attitude of our mind. It is possible to change the course of this country so that forever, we can begin to look at a new country.
After the election, Kibaki was declared winner in perhaps the most controversial and divisive poll Kenya has ever heard. Odinga and Ruto led their supporters in rejecting the results. ODM called for mass action to protest what they termed as rigging.
They are calling on people to conduct themselves constitutionally, and therefore are going to call for mass action countrywide.
The constituency and the figures that were being announced here by the Commission, we did ask the Commission to allow agents from all parties, not just ODM, together with the Commission, to peruse all the 210 files to ascertain that the announcements that were being made here by the Commission were backed by Forms 16A and Forms 16, which form the basis of any legitimate announcement.
Bloodshed, riots, destruction of property and displacement of persons epitomized the mass action call. Mediators were called in, with Kenya attracting the attention of the world. Ruto was among the negotiators picked in the mediation talks spearheaded by Ghanaian Kofi Annan. At last, there was a deal after 3 months of political grandstanding. Kibaki and Odinga formed a grand coalition government with the former as president and the latter as prime minister. William Ruto would be appointed as minister to the powerful agriculture docket. Years later, Ruto would fall out with his party leader Prime Minister Raila Odinga over the controversial evictions in Mau Forest. He criticized the evictions as inhuman and accused Odinga of persecuting the Kalenjin community. While as holder of the agriculture docket, Ruto succeeded in ensuring that farmers get subsidized fertilizer and seeds in Kenya's bid to make the country food secure. In 2009, William Ruto, President Uhuru Kenyatta and 4 others were named by the ICC as persons bearing the greatest responsibility for the post-election violence that had left more than 1,000 people dead. Despite attempts in Parliament to have a local mechanism look into the cases, MPs voted for a judicial process in The Hague. After a pre-trial hearing, former Minister Henry Kosgei and former Police Commissioner Hussein Ali were expunged from the infamous Ocampo 6 list. But Ruto's tribulations were beginning to pile up. In April 2010, Ruto was transferred to the less glorious Higher Education Ministry, carved from the Education Ministry, his agriculture docket taken by Sally Kosgei. At Higher Education, Ruto pushed for policies and budgetary allocations that would enhance capacities in universities, which would in turn ensure immediate absorption of Form 4 students who qualified to join university as opposed to the 2 years waiting period. But his wars with his party leader were not about to stop. He had started warming up to the Kibaki axis. At one time, Odinga announced the firing of William Ruto from cabinet, which President Kibaki would reverse hours later.
I am hereby suspending with immediate effect the following ministers for a period of 3 months. 1. Honorable William Ruto, Minister for Agriculture. 2. Honorable Samuel Ongeri, Minister for Education.
I have not received any communication from the appointing authority as Minister for Agriculture, and therefore I will continue to discharge the responsibilities of the Minister for Agriculture until that authority tells me I should do otherwise.
With frequent frictions between the PNU and ODM sides of government, William Ruto was finally fired from the cabinet in October 2010. In that political cold, William Ruto was joined by Uhuru Kenyatta, who had resigned from his Ministry of Finance docket owing to his case at the ICC, though Kenyatta retained the Deputy Prime Minister docket. Both teamed up owing to the tribulations at The Hague, nursing presidential ambitions. In 2012, William Ruto's URP teamed up with Kenyatta's TNA to form the Jubilee Alliance. Once again, Kenyatta would be the presidential candidate and Ruto his running mate.
Join me, Uhuru Kenyatta, and my brother William Ruto,
And help us take Kenya to the next place. Tunafungua ukurasa mpya katika taifa letu la Kenya. Tumekuja Nakuru, katikati ya Kenya.
Ni kweli ama si kweli? Na tumekuja Nakuru hapa kutangaza Wakenya kuanza safari ya kutembea pamoja.
Muungano wetu sio muungano wa matusi, lakini ni muungano wa kuhakikisha ya kwamba shida za kikawaida ambazo zinatukumba tunaweza kuzitatua kwa njia ya kujadiliana pamoja, lakini sio kwa njia ya kuingiliana kama viongozi.
After the election in 2013, both were declared winners in the polls, beating the Raila Odinga Kalonzo Musyoka ticket and 6 other candidates. Even after a challenge to their victory by court and a section of civil society organizations, the Supreme Court upheld their win. This was the second attempt by civil society organizations to stop their ascension to power after filing a similar challenge at the High Court, challenging the candidacy on account of the ICC charges. Ruto and Kenyatta now face the onerous task of balancing between serving 45 million Kenyans and their responsibilities as indictees at the ICC. In September 2013, 5 months after his being sworn in, Ruto's trial at the ICC started, with witnesses lined up to testify against him. But as the cases progressed, critical witnesses were refusing to cooperate and offer their testimony, the prosecution becoming totally frustrated. All this time, Ruto was personally in court, although in some instances, he was allowed to be back in the country during security emergencies back home. But he had to be present during the beginning and the end of testimony by a witness. In April last year, the cookie crumbled for ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda when she wrote to the court indicating that she lacked sufficient evidence to prosecute him alongside radio journalist Joshua Sang. Bensouda, however, refused to acquit him, citing witness interference as the reason for her withdrawal of the case. Ruto's biggest headache was now over, allowing him to return to the country and join his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose case had also been withdrawn in December 2014.
I have searched my conscience and my soul, and I have chosen that all those who gave false testimony against me, I have chosen to forgive them.
Though his tenure in public service has been riddled with some controversies, friends and foe agree that William Ruto is an achiever who leaves footmarks wherever he goes. In the elections that are less than 3 months away, William Ruto will be President Uhuru Kenyatta's running mate again, this time under the Jubilee Party.
Sisi kama Jubilee tumesema hatutaki tena siasa ya ukabila na kubaguana. Ndio sababu tumeunganisha hii chama yote, kwa sababu chama ile ilikuwa inasemekana URP ni ya wakale na wengine, TNA ya wale na wengine, UDF ya hapa ilikuwa ya hawa na wengine.
He, however, finds himself with a new headache from rebel Isaac Ruto, supporting his rivals in NASA and threatening to grab from him the kipchirchir vote.
Usiponyamaza hii mkutano itakwisha. Can you tell those fellows to stop the singing? If you don't do it, hii mkutano itakwisha in the next few minutes. Musitulete upuzi hapa.
Begu tuye tamngo. Nani. Begu tuye tamngiro. Kuna manana hiyo. Uja kutisha hapa na manana kidogo ati mkutano itaisha. Mkutano ya nani itaisha? Mimi nimekuja hapa na niko nyumbani. Ogaze? Amiga, amigo ameteni. Niko nyumbani.
Gideon Moi, the last-born son of President Moi, is also angling to wrest the Kalenjin kingship from William Ruto, which increasingly becomes a threat to Ruto's presidential ambitions in 2022. John Jacob Kuria for Channel 1.